For generations, our tribe has called the Inland Empire region our home. We take pride in supporting our neighbors and the world around us. As one of the largest employers in the area, committed to the growth and prosperity of our community, we work to support many important local causes. Our tribe will always be here for this community, honoring our history, celebrating our culture, building a brighter future for us all.
This is Indian Country Today.
Esquili, yes, thank you for joining us. I'm Patty Thalohungva. Here are the headlines for Friday, October 9th. Democratic presidential candidate Joe Biden and his running mate Kamala Harris are hoping to turn Arizona blue, and they're counting on the native vote to do that. They came to Arizona yesterday and met with 5 tribal leaders at the Heard Museum. Biden promised to build on what the Obama administration started for tribes.
I'm happy to talk to you, but we're going to pick up where Barack and I left off. There's going to be a big change.
With Arizona being a swing state and the election less than a month away, leaders welcomed the attention to tribal nations. Gila River Indian Community Governor Stephen Lewis called the meeting historic and thinks the native vote in Arizona will turn the state Democratic. The Biden campaign released a comprehensive tribal policy during the meeting. Leaders from Navajo, Hopi, San Carlos, and the Tohono O'odham Nation were also in attendance, and all were pleased with the tribal policy. But they say they don't want this to be a photo op for the campaign. They want to make sure there's action behind the plan. The 15-page Tribal Nations Plan laid out details for addressing priorities like tribal sovereignty, infrastructure, criminal justice issues, and education. Biden has plans to create a tribal advisory committee within the Department of Veterans Affairs to increase coordination between federal and tribal nations. Creating a similar task force for each item listed in the policy would be a great next step, says Hopi Chairman Timothy Navanyama. Those tribal leaders all agreed that hiring and electing more natives in all branches of government would be the most effective way to push the needle forward for tribes. Alaskan tribes are suing over a proposed road that will cut through the state's interior to a mining district. The 211-mile road would be nearly 7 hours north of Fairbanks and would stretch west from Dillon Mountain to the mining district. First Chief of the village of Huizla, Carl Burgett, says the road could change life in their region more than any other single decision in history, and yet the people most affected by it have been left out. The suit includes the Tanana Chiefs Conference, which represents 37 Athabascan tribes, along with 5 Koyukon Athabascan and Kobuk Inupiat tribes. Tribal leaders say their tight-knit communities depend on the land for fish and wildlife, and that diminishing or destroying such historic properties would harm their fundamental identities as tribes and indigenous people. The new road would open remote wilderness to traffic from Anchorage, Fairbanks, and the lower 48. Monday marks Indigenous Peoples Day and in many cities and tribal communities. In Albuquerque, New Mexico, the Indian Pueblo Cultural Center is celebrating the second statewide Indigenous Peoples Day with a virtual event. In 2019, the New Mexico State Legislature replaced Columbus Day with Indigenous Peoples Day. You can watch the free event on the website indianpueblo.org. It begins on Monday at 9 a.m. Mountain Time. You can also watch it anytime after that on the website during the month of October. The center's virtual celebration will include dance and artist demonstrations, and there will also be a historic presentation and remarks by special guests. This is just one of many events taking place this weekend and on Monday to mark Indigenous Peoples Day. Actor and director Jennifer Podemski is launching an online platform to support Indigenous women in film and television. Her network is free and offers subscribers virtual training, mentorship, and a digital exhibition space for content created and owned by Indigenous women. Podemski has acted in movies such as Empire of Dirt and Dance Me Outside. While she lives in Canada, she says her network is needed everywhere.
This platform was created to empower educate, inspire, and celebrate Indigenous women content creators. We want to see Indigenous women content creators thrive. We appreciate your support, and I love you. Thank you, miigwech.
The site will offer full programming early next year. And those are the headlines from Indian Country Today for Friday, October 9th. I'm Patty Thalahungva. When we come back, more on the Joe Biden campaign stop in Phoenix and the reaction from tribal leaders who met with him. Plus, how are tribes in Wisconsin doing as the number of coronavirus cases spike there?
This is Indian Country Today.
Every Friday, we are joined by reporters covering Indian country to see what is happening in their area and how tribes are doing in this pandemic, in this election year, and also in this year of the Census Count. Today, we have Frank Weisviles with us, and he's a Report for America Corps member, and he's based at the Green Bay Press-Gazette in Wisconsin. Frank covers Native American issues. Welcome, Frank.
Thank you for having me.
Also joining us today is Karina Dominguez. She's our correspondent for Indian Country Today, and Karina is based in Phoenix. Welcome, Karina.
Hi, Patty.
Well, Karina, let's start with you. You were at the Heard Museum yesterday when Vice President Joe Biden and his running mate Kamala Harris met actually with a couple of tribal leaders, and he released a plan for Indian Country. Tell us a little bit about that plan.
Yeah, so Biden released the Tribal Nations Plan. So Biden and Harris, they were campaigning together yesterday, as you said, at the Heard Museum, and they were able to flesh out a couple of important issues for Native people. So among those, tribal sovereignty. They also plan on investing in economic opportunities as well as infrastructure. That was one of the common themes that I heard when I was talking to most of the leaders. They're also talking about protecting watersheds, restoring wetlands, and things like that. But other topics included the Department of Justice, criminal justice reform, addressing some of these jurisdiction issues that get in the way of protecting our women and children.
What did Governor Stephen Lewis from the Gila River Indian community have to say about that in particular?
Yeah, so Governor Lewis was very pleased with everything that he heard under that Biden and Harris plan. So I did talk to them after the meeting, so just take a look at what he had to say.
We, as Indian Country, Gila River Indian community, we want a true partnership with hopefully this next administration of Biden and Harris that respects tribal sovereignty, that understands tribal sovereignty, that defends tribal sovereignty in regards to the Indian Child Welfare Act, violence against women, missing and murdered Indigenous women and children, the protection of our trust resources, our land, our water, and this is also, with global warming, with climate change as well.
And then tell us a little bit about the reaction from the Hopi chairman, Timothy Navanyama.
Yeah, Timothy Navanyama was very excited. Also, all the tribal leaders that I spoke to were very pleased with what they heard in that meeting. They just want to make sure that there's some teeth behind it. They don't want to pay lip service to these issues. They want to make sure that they actually get addressed. So, part of that is actually making sure that we elect natives, that we hire natives, that they're in all branches of government, from the federal level, state level, local level.
I had an opportunity to skim through it fairly quickly, and every topic that I'm bringing up right now was bulleted in that particular Tribal Nations plan. So I mentioned this to Vice President Biden and Senator Harris, that I'm encouraged to see this, because everything I wanted to bring to you was revolving under these particular points that you guys are addressing in this Tribal Nations plan. We have to put it to work. We have to get this thing activated. We have to strengthen everything that's in here. It needs that attention.
And Senator Kamala Harris, if she's elected, will make history as the first woman to be Vice President of the United States. And President Jonathan Nez from the Navajo Nation had some comments about that as well.
Yeah, he did allude to the fact that Native America has been largely, matriarchy, historically. And he was very excited, to have this possibility of a woman being in the White House. Someone like her, who's such a strong woman. Here's a look at what he had to say about her leadership.
And we're a matriarchal society, right? Native America, and they're the ones who take care of us and lead. And I see that passion in Senator Harris, and I see that we're going to be okay. It's just like being around your mother or your auntie or your sister, knowing that they got your back. So that's what I witnessed last night in the debate, and as well as today.
And Karina, you actually had a chance to just at least briefly speak to the Vice President, and what did he have to say?
Yeah, he, it was very unexpected. The way they made it seem was like, oh, you don't really get to ask any questions, and no, you can try, but no guarantees he's going to answer. So we were very pleased. Me and another Native journalist got a little bit of an exclusive look into the event. So when we were standing nearby, he actually stopped and he talked to us, and he, made a promise that they'd pick up where he had left off last time he was in office.
All right, Karina. And did anything come up about the pandemic and, of course, the presidential debates? I guess they're canceled at this point. They're kind of up in the air. President Trump has said that he doesn't want to do a virtual debate, and now they both seem to be going in their own different directions. But did the tribal leaders have anything to say about that, or even the vice president?
Yes, so they are part of this bus tour that's going on right now. So it actually kicked off on the Navajo Nation, which President Nez did speak about a little bit. But he was in Phoenix and Tempe yesterday, meeting with business owners who were impacted because of the pandemic. One woman in particular that he talked to, who now operates Barrio Cafe, she had to basically downsize and was struggling with, health and medical bills during that time. So in that plan, he does, lay out some plans for getting the necessary infrastructure in place for water needs, making sure that tribes have plumbing. Not only that, but, other road infrastructure, broadband was another big thing. So he does have a plan in place for addressing these pandemic-related issues.
Well, so much about the pandemic. Karina Dominguez, thank you for joining us.
Thanks for having me, Patty.
So let's turn to Frank. Frank, you're covering a lot about the coronavirus in your area, because for a long time through the summer, while other states and tribes were grappling with this pandemic, it seems like the tribes in Wisconsin there were pretty safe until recently.
Right. Yes. The tribes, did have a pretty good handle on it. They were, very diligent with their health regulations, with the social distancing, with the mask requirements. But that all changed just this past month, the past few weeks. The entire region has been spiking in COVID cases. So there's that.
And what caused that? Do health officials have any idea what happened? I mean, they were doing so well in March, April, May, June, July, even. And what do they think caused this?
Well, some health officials believe there is a lax in some of the rules that people were following with social distancing. People have been meeting, they've been gathering, seeing family members. And in Forest County in northern Wisconsin, there's two reservations: the Mo Lake Ojibwe as well as the Potawatomi. But on an off-reservation event drew 45,000 people over Labor Day weekend, and social media posts show a lot of them, not socially distant, a lot of them not wearing masks. Almost all of them were not wearing any masks. But this was an off-road racing event. And then to top it off, they had another event 2 weeks later, which drew another 15,000 people. And then and also there's these off-reservation bars. They're not enforcing any social distancing. They're not requiring masks. So that's led to a major spike in Northeast Wisconsin.
Wow, and tell us again, which tribes are being affected by this spike?
Pretty much all of them, but the ones in Northeast Wisconsin are the Potawatomi, the Mole, Ojibwe, Menominee, and Oneida Nation.
Okay, so four tribes in that area there. And even the medical leadership is saying that their resources are being strained at this point. Is there an update on that? Are there enough hospital beds? What's the picture?
Yes. All of the hospitals are near capacity now. Governor Evers has declared, he's issued new orders to for every stores and restaurants to only be at 25% capacity now. But yes, people with non-coronavirus related issues are having to be sent further away from their homes, at other ends of the state that are not experiencing quite as high rates of COVID activity.
And it also prompted some tribal leaders to close down their reservation lands. Are those closures still in effect?
Yes, they are. They've just been extended actually to October 19th for many reservations. As far as gaming operations are closed, restaurants are closed. There's still some grocery stores are still open and gas stations obviously, but yes, there's they've been trying to clamp down, trying to get a handle on the spread.
And even schools there are now closed. Were they closed the whole semester, or is that just something new that they opened and closed down now?
Right. There was a hybrid learning going on for a while. They did meet. They had met in person, but now it's all virtual because of the COVID spike.
And I understand some tribes are imposing fines if people break these restrictions, and even I guess there's also some kind of curfew in place.
Yes, on the Menominee Reservation, the curfew's from 10 p.m. until 6 a.m. and there is a $500 fine for people violating some of the new emergency orders. So yes, they are really trying to clamp down and trying to make sure people are obeying the rules.
And there was also a Menominee Tribal Council member who survived COVID and talked about it. Tell us a little bit about his experience.
Right, it was actually his brother, Mr. Gary Bisaw's brother, Myron, and his entire family had contracted COVID this summer, and he's having to use a cane now, and that's a topic that's that's a story that's underreported, is the lingering effects of COVID. Many people survive it, but there are long-standing health issues that people have to deal with for who knows how long to come. So yeah, but they are doing better now. But he just he was really wanting to get his message out there about how serious this is, and people should take it seriously with their social distancing and wearing the mask and hand sanitizing, and just be really diligent just to make sure we're coming up on the cold months, and things might get worse before they get better. So it's
It's so true. People, you hear about this fatigue, this pandemic fatigue, and people letting their guard down. And especially as we come into the holiday season, where it's just so natural for families to get together, friends to get together. But what are tribal leaders saying when it comes to the holidays? Are they preparing people now just to let them know, look, you still can't get together because it still doesn't appear to be safe, especially in light of this spike in cases?
Definitely, they are really putting it out there. Don't visit family, especially elders. On the Mole Lake Reservation, there's a large community of elders there that they're trying to protect. Don't visit your grandparents, and just try to keep it within your household.
And that's got to be a tough message to get out, but so needed in this scenario here, and not just for people in Wisconsin, but across the country. we all know Thanksgiving is the busiest time of travel, and so what is that going to look like in this pandemic? Even the National Guard was called out to help, right?
That's correct. Yeah, there's no hospitals, and or hospitals are far apart in the northern parts, the more rural parts of Wisconsin. And it's hard for them to get a handle on testing. So the National Guard was called out. They're called out on various weekends to help with testing. So yes, they have been seeking help from outside of their counties.
And then, of course, we are in this election season here. Are the tribes also addressing getting out the native vote, getting people registered, and any plans for actually voting on election day or any kind of early voting? What have you learned so far?
Well, yes, they are definitely, highly recommending mail-in voting, getting the messages out there about how people can register for mail-in voting. But yes, that's really being pushed now as well.
Yeah, and then the other big story, it seems like there's so many big stories that we're following. Of course, the other one is the census count. How is the census being affected there in Wisconsin with tribes and with the lack of census workers going door to door? We've done this story every day practically, talking about how Indian country is undercounted at this point. So what does the picture look like there in Wisconsin?
Well, on some of the reservations, there was some concern about a low count, but volunteers are setting up tables, urging people to come out and just really quickly fill out some paperwork, and they receive a free T-shirt. I am whatever the tribe is, and I am counted. So that's one where they're giving away hundreds of those T-shirts, and people are coming out, and so hopefully we will get a good count.
Well, there's just so much going on here. So again, at this point in time, you've got all these tribes here concerned about the coronavirus and the spread of the coronavirus. Are there any tribal rules or issues saying people can't travel in this time? Not just for tribal business, but also for other, personal business?
There is stay-at-home recommendations, especially with that curfew. They can't travel at night, but they are highly urging people only to travel just to get essential items. Pretty much as it was in the early days of the pandemic. They're going back to that. So once this spike levels out, once the numbers start to decrease or not increase at the highest rate as they had been, then they'll probably ease some of these restrictions. So.
Wow, and is anyone talking about the forecast? Like, what is it going to look like in 4 months? Are tribes planning that far ahead?
Right, yes. Yeah, pretty much just like everywhere else, we're, just taking it week by week, really. I know that the state government and the governors, they have, issuing their orders for capacity at stores and at restaurants, and, they're just following wherever the spike is, and just trying to get a handle on that. And yeah, but there's doesn't seem to be any long-term plans.
Well, it will be interesting to see where we are in 6 months and then in a year, because again, for a lot of us, this really started hitting hard in in March, when the Final Four basketball tournament closed down, and then the NBA closed down, and then Disneyland closed its doors. So March is like a point in time where everything really started to stop in the U.S. So where are tribes now, and where are we going to be in next March in the spring? What else are you working on, Frank?
Sure. Well, the Attorney General for Wisconsin had this past summer formed a MMIW task force, missing and murdered Indigenous women, and we're following that. There's some question about how it would be funded, because the state legislature has not approved any funding for that. So there's some question about how much work they can actually get done. But meanwhile, there are individuals who are really forging ahead. There's this 12-year-old boxing champion girl. She's really trying to get the message out there as well. I wrote about her, Ayana Kimash. She's really trying to fundraise for that and really get the message out. Create NMIW awareness, and so that's one other issue. And then there's also issues of ongoing legal challenges to tribal sovereignty, such as at Oneida Nation. A non-native town of Hobart lies within the reservation, but they're trying to enforce rules on the tribe that on property that the tribe owns within the village. The tribe just recently won a court case against that, but now the Hobart is looking into taking that all the way to the Supreme Court now. There was some question, whether the Supreme Court would hear it since that Oklahoma ruling. But with the new justice, possibly coming in, things may change. So we're closely watching that as well.
All right, Frank, we'll continue to follow that and bring you back on to get an update on that story as well. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you for having me.
And thank you for watching. Take care of yourselves. Your life is precious. I'm Patty Tolhungva. On behalf of all of us here at Indian Country Today, have a safe weekend and join us again on Monday.
Indian Country Today is recorded at the Phoenix Indian School Visitor Center in Phoenix, Arizona.
This is Indian Country Today.